Yukon is dealing with a severe outbreak of COVID-19. The territory went from having the lowest case rate in the country to the highest in just 2 months. There are currently 103 active infections. The region is also one of the most vaccinated in Canada. Sandy Silver is the Premier of Yukon. He's in Whitehorse. Premier Silver, welcome back to Power and Politics.
Thank you very much, David. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Yukon had among the lowest case counts in the country, and now it has among the highest. And officials there say infection is present in most Yukon communities. So what's happened to cause this increase in new cases?
We just had a press conference here with our Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Brendan Hanley, and also the Chief of the Kwalendon First Nation, Chief Doris Bill. That was one of the questions coming up. Do we know the original source? We don't know the original source, other than most likely, according to the Chief Medical Officer of Health, it was somebody who did not either willingly or unwillingly or consciously or not adhere to the requirement to self-isolate, and from there we've seen spread because there's been some parties that have happened where people weren't adhering to the guidelines. So yeah, again, in the last 14 days, we've had more cases than we've had in 14 months. And we also have the highest vaccination rate in Canada. So this is a message for the rest of Canadians, that are watching. The best thing we can do is make sure that we adhere to the guidelines. I know folks are sick of them, but they're there for a reason. But also, we need to get vaccinated. People need to get vaccinated. We need to increase those rates in all the demographics, all the different age groups, all the different communities. And that's the best tool that we have in the toolbox right now.
It's remarkable that you are going through an outbreak like this when, as you say, you are the most highly vaccinated region in the country. I think it's north of 72% or something. Right now, so I mean, what does it say that even with those really high rates of vaccination, you can up in this situation?
Yeah, our first shot vaccination rate is 82%, and our second shot is up to 74% right now. Our youth from ages 12 to 17 have the first shot at 63%. So really encouraging numbers. And what we're seeing is the up to 90% of the cases and it's P1 gamma variant, 90% are affecting those that are unvaccinated. I mean, again, it's pretty straightforward to tell that this virus is very discriminatory against those who are not vaccinated. We've had a few cases of people that were vaccinated that got the disease, very mild symptoms. And we have people that are in hospital, hooked up to machines that are breathing for them, and they'll have, lung issues for the rest of their lives. So, it's very important to get the message out how extremely important vaccination is. We're trying to get as many people vaccinated as possible. Last week we had 29 positive cases come back in a single day. A couple of days ago, it was down to about 10 positive cases per day, and it's looking like today it's going to be about 4 or so. So, we'll get through this outbreak, but, COVID's not going away anytime soon. So if you're unvaccinated, I think that's really the message. As we go from pandemic to endemic, we will be living with COVID. And the best thing that we can do, I hate to sound like a broken record, David, but vaccinations, vaccinations, vaccinations.
So Ottawa has given the territories enough vaccine now to get everyone completely double dose. So where are you on that, and how long will it be before you're at the... I don't know if you'll get 100%. I don't know if any jurisdiction will get 100%, but as many as you can. When do you think you're going to get to the finish line on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's hard to speculate. Although it is interesting, back in May, we said, you can travel. All Canadians can travel into Yukon if you're vaccinated. You don't have to self-isolate. So a lot of folks in Yukon who were a little bit hesitant, we saw a huge spike in people getting the needles at that time. I think, too, when we start seeing this outbreak in the unvaccinated community, we're getting an awful lot of community conversations, let's just say, a lot of leadership in our First Nations chief and councils, in our mayors and council, in just, the mentors in the communities talking to people about, where are you getting your information that's showing you hesitancy? And so, again, when we saw this outbreak, I mean, nobody wants to see this outbreak. It's tragic. We lost a person last week as well, and nobody likes to see that. It's just horrific to the families that are involved. But again, I think when you're living in a jurisdiction that has 0 cases of COVID for weeks upon end, it's that complacency kind of creeps in. So, these are some violent reminders of how important it is to adhere to the guidelines.
So what about reopening now? Because a lot of jurisdictions are moving towards reopening, and you know, then you have an outbreak like this. So does Yukon proceed with the reopening, or do you start putting new restrictions in place until you get everything under control again?
Yeah, we don't feel that there's any need for any new restrictions. The reason why we have an outbreak is because there are certain people that don't adhere to the current restrictions. Putting new restrictions on aren't going to help their behavior, not necessarily. And new restrictions or rolling back isn't going to help the health and safety. Dr. Hanley spoke very prolifically today about that balancing line between people's mental health and our health for COVID. It's hard not to get emotional as the chief medical officer and his team are dealing with opioid pandemics as well, and the effects of being cooped up and our mental health. So there is a balancing act there right now. And really the message out to Canadians is we are living with COVID. We will be living with COVID for years to come. Keep on doing what you need to do to keep people safe. If you're not vaccinated right now, get vaccinated. There are guidelines in place, but we are moving towards reopening. We've been having conversations with the federal government about their control of borders and those conversations. And as you know, David, those conversations they're changing every day based upon epidemiology and new guidelines in other countries. So when it comes to Yukon, we've been talking to the Prime Minister about the Alaskan border, made it very clear to the federal government that we want to maintain our social and economic ties with Alaska. And so we're interested in opening that border, again, when it's safe to do so. We do know that there's cruise ships that are coming in right now. Me and you talked about this last week. Skagway, our brothers and sisters in Skagway, which is very close to Whitehorse here. They have cruise ships coming in. Everybody on those cruise ships are vaccinated. Again, huge ties, whether it's Skagway. There's a smaller community really close to my community of Dawson City called Eagle, Alaska. Friends and family there as well. So we have had preliminary conversations about the possibility of opening up the Alaska border separately from the southern borders, and we'll continue to work with the feds on that conversation.
Okay, Sandy Silver, we're right out of time. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, David.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.